Welcome to this new video, and we want to do a comparison between the Huawei Mate Xs versus the Honor Magic VS, two foldable smartphones. The Magic VS, basically my second foldable smartphone besides the flip phone that I'm filming here right now with, the Pocket P50 Pocket. The Mate Xs is now like 4 years old, I think, and still holding up very great, and they're very comparable, I think. So this is not only a camera comparison, but also a device and software comparison, and also a foldable comparison. So let's get started. So let's check out the Mate Xs first. The display, when you fold it, is 6.5 inch in dimensions, and of course it is a foldable device which only has one display, where on the other side I also have another display under this case here. And the cool thing about this one is here the 6.5 inch are pretty usual and normal for a normal device, normal slab phone. So no notches, no front camera, just the display here. But you can see already I'm outside. It is a bit hard to read outside, even when it's like bumping up the brightness to the highest level here. It is basically almost unreadable in sunlight. A little bit I can read there still. Probably maybe if I add a little bit of shadow you can see something, otherwise it's barely readable. Otherwise it has a 40 megapixel main camera, 8 megapixel periscopic zoom camera, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle here on the back, which is the only camera system that you can use. But the cool thing is you can also use this for recording selfies, because of course you have the possibility to just use the inner screen here, the other side of the screen as well, for selfies, which is pretty cool. There you can see the Huawei logo itself and the button, the red accent button that you can use to just open up the device. As you can see here, it's spring loaded, and then the device will open up like a tent and slowly will move to its fully unfolded position. And here we have an 8-inch screen, which is also pretty nice. And this one, of course, as it is basically the same screen as the one that we had before, screen visibility outdoors is a little bit hard. When we go to the shadows, I think it is still okay. And only 60 hertz here, because it's a 4 years old device, I think. 2020, 3 years old device now. 2020 it came out, so 3 years old device, as you can see here. So almost 4 years. But what do you think about this one here? And now we have the Magic VS. As you can see here, outdoors visibility already a lot better. The screen is in 21:9 aspect ratio, so a bit of a different aspect ratio than the one on the Mate Xs. We have 6.45 inch, so it's a tad smaller as well, but therefore you can reach with the thumb over here, which is quite okay, I would say. So what do you think about this one here? In terms of outdoors visibility, over 1000 nits, so no issues at all there. And this is the outer display, because this is an inwards folding device, not outwards folding device, so it has a big difference there. Otherwise, we have also a very interesting camera setup consisting of the 54 megapixel camera, a little bit larger camera size here, 8 megapixel telezoom, periscopic zoom 3 times, and we have also telezoom, actually not periscopic, but telezoom 3 times, and we have also like a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle here on the Magic VS. We will check out the cameras, of course, later. You can see from the thickness here, it is almost as thick, a bit thicker than the Mate Xs, which is pretty interesting, because this one is supposed to be the newer device that should be a little bit thinner. But as we have like two displays here, the outer display, the inner display as well, as you can see here, this is a very interesting device. 7.9 inch, so a little bit smaller than the Mate Xs here, but the outdoors visibility is already a bit higher. Even if I go to the sun here, I think it should be still a little bit readable here on this device. We have also a front-facing camera there, as well as on the outer display as well, as you can see here. So there is a punch hole on both screens, so you can use this as selfie. But there's also a possibility, even though very limited possibility, for the camera app. Then you have the possibility to click on this button here, which will then give you a preview on the other side using the main camera sensor, and then you are able to film yourself if you want to. As you can see here, me filming right now with the P50 Pocket. So this would be possible as well for filming if you want to do this. So I am now filming with the Huawei Mate Xs, and it's a front-facing camera. Yes, believe it or not, it doesn't have a front-facing camera per se, but it's using its back-facing camera, and as the display wraps around the device, I can just simply use the back device in the folded state for recording nice videos. And I like this setup a lot because it's like closely resembles one of the best vlogging experiences that you can get, because you have a very relatively large screen, comparable maybe with the Magic VS in terms of size, but yeah, you can hold it like a normal smartphone, but you can see yourself like a normal selfie kind of style for vlogging. And yeah, this one I used extensively when I was in New Zealand for vlogging, even for my German YouTube channel that was like more of a travel vlog, where I was talking about what's happening in New Zealand, what are the changes there, how does it look like in comparison to Europe, and so on. So yeah, very, very useful, very interesting device here, the Huawei Mate Xs, and still one of my favorite devices when it comes to vlogging, because it has this large 40 megapixel sensor, 1/1.7 inch size here, and you can get away with very good videos. And I have the possibility to also go in here, zoom in if I want to, which is not really what I wanted to. I wanted to zoom out, actually. Zoom out to the ultra wide angle, which is, I think, what is it, 16 megapixels, something like this, I don't know, 13 or 12. Also very nice. Has autofocus, can give you also a nice vlogging experience. I also used it very extensively in New Zealand for the vlogs, because yeah, sometimes you want to have a little bit of wider field of view to show your surroundings, and especially as it's very sunny in New Zealand, you have a lot of light there. You can get away with this one, even if it's a smaller sensor size here. So what do you think about the Huawei Mate Xs? Still a great vlogging cam, isn't it? And this is now recording with the Honor Magic VS. And what do you think about this one here? Also looking great. This one I have to unfold to see myself, because the outer screen is then in the front, and I can turn on an option that allows me to see myself on the outer screen, though I don't have any controls on the outer screen with my finger. So I can tap here. It doesn't work at all. I hope Honor will listen to us and give us some user interface options there for the outer screen to at least change the zoom level, start and stop recording. Otherwise it's a bit cumbersome. I can use the volume buttons for start and stopping recording, but otherwise, yeah, nothing much else. What do you think about this one here? 54 megapixel, a little bit larger sensor, 1/1.49 inch size sensor. Yeah, what do you think? 3 years difference between the Mate Xs and the Magic VS. Do you see it in the video? 4K 30, both can record 4K 30, but the Magic VS can record up to 15 minutes non-stop, where the Mate Xs can only record up to 10 minutes non-stop, and then it will, yeah, stop the video. You can start again, but then also only 10 minutes on the Mate Xs and 15 minutes on the Magic VS. Of course, I can also, during recording 4K 30, switch to the ultra wide angle, which is 50 megapixels, but here I have to go behind the camera to actually control the device and click on the ultra wide angle, and there we can see the ultra wide angle, much wider field of view on the Magic VS in comparison to the Mate Xs, but also you can see a bit more distortion, and I think especially towards the edges it gets a bit softer. So I could imagine using this as vlogging device especially as well. Did not travel to New Zealand here with this one to check it out, but as it has an even wider field of view, you might get more into shot. And of course it also has autofocus, so if I want to show my Mate Xs cameras here, it should be able to focus on them as well without much of an issue. So what do you think about the Honor Magic VS as a vlogging device here? I think this could also be a very good upgrade to the Mate Xs, though I like the Mate Xs form factor a bit more, because it's easier to hold, because it's like holding like a slap phone, and here I'm holding like a tablet to vlog, which might be not ideal. So what do you think about this one here? Also external audio, because I'm recording with my Boya microphone XM6 here. on both devices. So what do you think about those here? Which one do you think is better for vlogging? Let's take a brief look at the photos. On the left always the Mate Xs, on the right always the Magic VS. What we can see here on first glance, much more punchy colors on the Magic VS. It is like oversaturating sometimes even, where the Mate Xs looks a bit muted, a bit cooler, a bit bluisher, and not always representing what you see. What we can see here with the ultra wide angle, we have 17mm on the Mate Xs and we have 13mm on the Magic VS, so we have tons of more information here to work with, like this one statue for example, which is in the shot on the Magic VS, same position on the Mate Xs, it's not in there. Otherwise we can see the difference here in terms of colors, much more punchier colors on the Magic VS. The Magic VS, because of the larger field of view, is also sharpening up a little bit more than the Mate Xs, which keeps it a little bit more realistic. But when it comes to ultra wide angle and its HDR processing, the Magic VS has a clear advantage because of the newer sensor here. The same basically you can say also about the main camera sensor, a lot punchier on the Magic VS again. In terms of detail level and HDR, we can see that it keeps a little bit more information here and doesn't struggle so much with this very harsh sunlight. Although otherwise it's a very warm kind of look on the Magic VS, where it's a bit cooler on the Mate Xs. But I can tell you, this is the default look. Again, main camera sensor, but the Magic VS has an ace up its sleeve because it can simulate basically the output of the Mate Xs. You just have to switch the color filter from the default one to another one which is called blue, and if you switch to the blue one, you can see how much closer this is to the Mate Xs now. It's basically identical. Of course, yeah, the shot is slightly bit different. You can see it's sharpening up a little bit. You can see some sharpening artifacts here on the Magic VS, but overall, yeah, it has a sharper look for sure. And we have a little bit better HDR controls, as you can see here, especially when it comes to the cars and the reflections there. And also a bit tad sharper, maybe rendering in general. And here also in the shadows, maybe a bit raised shadows here on the Mate Xs, but a little bit more sharpened up here on the Magic VS. Look at the tree here, for example, where here the details is a bit lost. So yeah, it's very, very close when it comes to this. When you're using the Magic VS with its blue color filter, you get basically the output of the Mate Xs in all of the shots that I did. But I switched to the defaults again and was checking out the telezoom 3 times, and the Mate Xs, even in daylight situations, can become very noisy, where the Magic VS also at 3 times zoom doesn't have this issue at all, and also better HDR again. 10 times zoom, you can see it as well, better HDR. It's raising the shadows here on the Magic VS. When it comes to detail levels, the Mate Xs seems to be a little bit more detailed, but this has something to do simply with keeping a bit more contrasty look. This is why we have the overblown highlights here, and we have the black shadow here, where the Magic VS is like lifting the shadows up here, probably because it detected a face and trying to beautify the face a little bit by lifting up the shadows. We can see this later in the portrait shot as well. 3 times zoom, again lifting up a little bit of the shadows, better HDR, especially in the background. You can see both are struggling there, and maybe even the Mate X is slightly bit better because the Magic VS is punching stuff here, but it's definitely raising the shadows, and you can see a little bit more detail on this little artwork here that you don't see so much on the Mate XS. When it comes to the portrait shot, 2 times zoom portrait shot with the main camera, what you can see here is the Mate XS totally fails, I would say, in this harsh conditions, because it's just like adding the contrast or leaving the contrast. It's overblown highlights in the background on my face, and the Magic VS is doing magic because it's like yeah, evening out the shadows a little bit, so I don't have much of the shadows in my face. My face looks much better there. And when it comes to detail levels as well, both are very close. You can see how much softer the Mate XS here is, and yeah, the Magic VS is doing a lot of computational photography, but I think I prefer the Magic VS here. One-time zoom, one-time portrait shot, I mean, it's also very interesting. Much more bokeh effect on the Magic VS, much less bokeh effect on the Mate XS. The Mate XS looks a bit more realistic, but when you zoom in, you can see the superiority of the main camera sensor that they're using here for giving a more natural look, a more yellowish kind of look, but more details as well for sure on the Magic VS. So yeah, the Magic VS looks a bit more pleasant to the eye. Ultra wide angle is also utilized on both for macro shots. Macro shots are a lot sharper on the Magic VS. Yeah, it is over sharpening a bit. Here in this shot, I even like the colors a bit more on the Magic VS, where the Mate XS is fading with the colors. Here you can see, yeah, the Mate XS is still a great device for macro shots and can definitely keep up with mid-range devices like the Honor 70 or the Nova 10 Pro. but the Magic VS is on a different level. You can see, yes, it is doing a little bit over sharpening here, where the Mate XS keeps it a bit softer, but there's also more details that it can work with its larger sensor, which is quite cool. When it comes to the low light photography, both are doing very fine, a bit more contrasty on the Magic VS. When you zoom in, you can clearly see that the Magic VS is struggling with the lower light situation here, where the Mate XS keeps it a bit better. Yeah, there's tons of noise, but it's keeping it a bit better, not so artificially sharpening and changing the texts around here especially. So yeah, the Mate XS a bit better. It is using Huawei as far as I'm aware, so this is a big difference. You can see also here in this shot where, yes, it is the same shot, same light coming in, and the Mate XS is crushing the Magic VS in terms of light gathering capabilities here with its Huawei sensor. You can see so much details here as well, like the stitching on this little case here. It's a bit soft overall, I would say, and here the Magic VS is a bit sharper, but Magic VS is struggling with raising up or keeping up with the Mate XS light gathering capabilities. It is sharper, but also very noisy on the Magic VS. It also what's more reddish tint, magenta tint, where the Mate XS is going more to the bluish kind of tint here in the shadows. So this is my comparison between them two. I think overall the Magic VS is the clear winner here, even though the default look might be a bit too punchy, especially when you're coming from the Mate XS, but you can simulate this again with the blue color filter on the Magic VS, and probably this will also work with the Magic 5 Pro versus the Mate 50 Pro. We'll retest this as well after I found out about this here in the Mate XS versus Magic VS. What do you think? Which one is your favorite here? When it comes to the usage, you will notice the higher refresh rate and a little bit more speed on the Magic VS, that with the inner screen offers 90 Hz instead of just 60 Hz on the Mate XS. Though the speed difference for everyday tasks is not so different, and the Kirin 990 5G CPU on the Mate XS can definitely surprise in a positive way here. If you do more demanding tasks like video editing, then you will notice the far superior and faster Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 on the Magic VS. This video was cut and edited on this device. Other hardware differences noticeable are the speakers, where we have a real stereo sound on the Magic VS, and the Mate XS basically has only good sounding but nevertheless mono speaker mainly. Yeah, you can hold it in a specific way to turn a loudspeaker on as additional speaker, but this seems to be some kind of afterthought by Huawei and does not really sound like a true stereo setup at all. Besides that, the only big thing you will notice the generational gap between those two foldables is the haptic motor. The Mate XS has a powerful but not very precise one, and the Magic VS offers a very precise and modern X-axis one for sure. The software experience is pretty much the same, which is a good thing, I would say, but you still run into the same issues even after all those years. Certain apps do not like to run in landscape mode and mess with you. It is a bit sad that nothing has been done here to support those apps in a better way. Xiaomi, for example, manages it somehow on its tablets, something Honor should learn and optimize upon. Honor in general seems to be lacking in terms of optimizations for the form factor. The missing camera features for vloggers, for example, and the optimizations for half unfolded screens, which is a bit disappointing. And the constant nagging about restarting the app after unfolding or folding with an app already open is pretty annoying. Overall, the Magic VS is the winner here with its larger battery, faster processor and brighter display, but the software is something that they will have to work upon still.